Welcome to episode 629 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Jay Hilton, and hey, sometimes it's not pretty, but sometimes you wind up still scoring 5 goals. And I think that's exactly what happened in the Champions League night for Barcelona against Red Star Belgrade. For those joining me for the first time or along for the ride, as Hansi Flick's team cannot stop scoring, maybe a few new fans have been brought in. Remember to subscribe to the channel, help me out on Patreon or the merch store, help me out on social media by just joining the conversation, or give a good rating on the podcast apps. Those are all the different ways you can help me out. Because this is a team, this is the right time to jump on board. They have now jumped in the top 6 in the Champions League standings after this win over Red Star Belgrade, and it's a team that seems completely unfazed by the atmosphere in Serbia and Belgrade. It's a tough place to play, as evidenced by the Champions League success for this team in the past. They won the whole dang thing 34 years ago. There were no Barca fans in the stadium after that banner against Monaco had Barca fans suspended for one away match. And the fact of the matter is, again, this Barcelona team is not fazed by environment, by the team. Doesn't matter if they're Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. Doesn't matter if it's Red Star Belgrade. They put goals past you no matter who you are. And I would say if Barca are unfazed in these players, don't be fazed by those telling you not to subscribe to the channel. Please do that so we can get into these 5 headlines. Because here they are, the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 5-2 win over Red Star Belgrade. Headline 1 is undroppable center backs. From this starting lineup, the only 2 big rotation pieces, if you want to call them that, is De Jong comes in for both Dani Olmo and Fermin Lopez. Pedri moves to the 10, and De Jong steps in that double pivot with Casado, and then Gerard Martin rotates in for Alejandro Balde. So those are the only real changes from the Gala 11 we've seen from Hansi Flick. So Gerard Martin and De Jong, those are the 2 guys that we are going to talk about, because I think those are the 2 players that the microscope was most on. And this kind of got started early for Gerard Martin. I had said on the YouTube live preview that he was going to be the player that Red Star Belgrade was going to want to attack, and not just because it's Gerard Martin, but also because their probably best player is Silas, who's on that right wing. So it really was a case of the way that Red Star Belgrade wanted to attack just happened to line up perfectly with the one weakness, if you want to call it that, for Barcelona. First time that we really see this is the 3rd minute of this game. He's working, that being Silas, in to get behind Gerard Martin. Martin slipped, but Casado had it covered. And for him, it's all about positioning. Martin was better on an interception there in the 6th minute. 3:35 into the game was the first offside. 100th offside that Barcelona have drawn from their opponents in all competitions this season. That was, again, just the first one of the game. That is impeccable, incredible. Again, for more on that offside, I talked last week with Alex Dalmas, so check out that podcast. We talked all about the beauty and the magic of that offside under Hansi Flick. That is not just a flash in the pan with no forward can seem to figure it out, or Barcelona has not met a forward that can figure it out yet. Yeah, there are things that are fine, but this is a well-oiled machine already with that offside trap. 8th minute, it's better build-up from Barcelona, who started the game kind of slow. One-touch stuff, that's how you get through a low block from Pedri, keeping it in, and then Pedri delivering from out wide. Falls Lamine Yamal for a shot, but can't get it on target. But the 13th minute, already, Barcelona finally on the front foot. 1-0, Inigo Martinez with the header. Comes also on the first foul of the game. Lewandowski and Pedri both kind of going down in the same little juncture there. Whistle getting blown. And then Rafinha, what a delivery by him. Didn't have his best first half, but still picks up this assist here. A diving header by Inigo Martinez. Goes back across goal. That is a picture-perfect header. One of those little rewards. One of those gold stars that Inigo Martinez gets for what has been a tremendous start of the season. I said it on the live stream that if you had told me that Marc Casado and Inigo Martinez would be completely undroppable from Hansi Flick's Barcelona, I would say, how is that possible? What happened? Who got hurt? But yeah, I mean, people did get hurt, but those 2 have been completely undroppable, and they make this all work, and good on Inigo Martinez for rewarding himself with a header. 18th minute here, Red Star kind of told you exactly who they were when they went to press, but it only happened for a few seconds, and then they immediately got off it. I actually was interested to see what would have happened for them in a positive way if they were going to go for it, but they didn't. They immediately settled back in to their low block, so that's it, and that is the reason in that low block why Lewandowski was consistently seeing 2 in the box. 25th minute in transition, Rafinha skies one over. As I said, it wasn't his best start to a game, but he also already had delivered the assist by that point on the header goal. And I also want to say, for every negative moment or final pass or final ball that we saw from Rafinha and Lewandowski, there was always a silver lining, because how that ball got into a dangerous spot. What a ball here from Lamine Yamal. I can say that a number of times throughout this game, and I will. So let's continue on these headlines so I can talk more about Lamine Yamal. Headline 2 is problem with the drop-off. Jumping ahead to the moment when this game was, if you remember, 1-1 at a time in the 27th minute, and it comes from that little matchup that we didn't want to see in Silas versus Gerard Martin. Silas shifted to the center, so really not a 1v1 with Gerard Martin, but Silas shifted and Gerard Martin did not hand him off well enough, so Martin clearly plays him onside, because when Silas shifted to the center, had that little overload, and got inside of Kubarsi, winning that foot race. Again, Silas is one of those speed players, and Kubarsi, he's quick, but he wasn't quick enough. So Gerard Martin, as I said, also played him onside because Kubarsi had jumped, and Pedri and De Jong both also got bypassed by the same pass. They both went to take the ball away, which is a good thing, but one little turn, and the midfield was bypassed for Barcelona, and Castro couldn't shift over quick enough, and that's the first goal. And Iñaki Peña also, I think, got caught coming off his line and wasn't able in the 1v1 situation to close that angle properly. Not the best game from Iñaki Peña either today, I will say that. The issues with Gerard Martin, which I've been critical of him, and I think for good reason this season, there does seem to be such a huge drop-off from Balde to Gerard Martin, which is also common for Balde. I don't think people are understanding just how good he's been this year, but it did bring up a question. And I'm just going to throw this one out here for the comment sections and my social media and podcast listeners or patrons, whatever, to let me know. When Araujo comes back, and this is why my first headline was Undroppable center backs, Kubarsi and Inigo Martinez, they don't deserve to go anywhere. Those are the two starting center backs for Barcelona. Now, when Araujo comes back, he's such a good player, he should play. Can he be the rotation piece, and not even a rotation piece, but I mean, he can start at center back. We've seen he can start at right back. And can he start at left back? Because with the speed of Araujo, I know he is right-footed, and he is predominantly right-footed where he doesn't really use his left foot at all. That would be my concern, that teams would just kind of allow him to sit on the ball at left back and say, all right, do your worst. Because even Gerard Martin delivered one or two really good diagonal balls in this game, something that we don't really even see from Balde. So Gerard Martin from a dead stop, some really good long balls that, again, Araujo at left back wouldn't do. So the experimenter idea for Araujo at left back, let me know, again, in the comments. I'd love to hear some feedback on that idea. 34th minute, looked like could have been something for Red Star, but no, they were offside anyway. Kubarsi had indeed offside by a lot too, but we still had to go through the song and dance, and Kubarsi still defended it well enough that Inde skied it over. As I said, first headline, let's go back to that. Works for Inigo Martinez, also works for Kubarsi. Even when Araujo comes back, I think Kubarsi has pretty much been undroppable this season. Headline 3 is go right at him. 35th minute, Inigo Martinez with a nice forward pass. Lamine Yamal feeds Lewandowski with one touch, but he couldn't get it out of his feet. Some chances for Barcelona. And then we see the other 17-year-old attacker, special attacker, because yes, Pau Kubarsi is also 17, but Maximovic gets on the ball, a little bit of magic from him, so at least Red Star have another exciting wonderkin to be excited to see, because Barcelona fans, they already have their 17-year-olds that they're excited about, and again, it is Lamine Yamal. So he wasn't the only special 17-year-old attacker in the game, but I think he was the more special one. 40th minute, better build-up from Barca again. If you release the ball quickly, then things are going to work for you, and that just seemed to be when Barcelona were on the front foot in this game, that's what they were doing. When they weren't, that's what they weren't doing against a low block. And I thought the midfield, especially in that first half, that trio was struggling to control the game. All three of them kept popping up everywhere and trying to win the ball back and getting on the ball, but they weren't really knowing where they should be to help the game, and they weren't associating well together either. And they also weren't associating well, I thought, in vertical space, that being the three midfielders. And yet, all that hard work does pay off in the 43rd minute. The 2-1 comes. Castro working hard. Barca get it back. Before Red Star Belgrade could get back into their shape, Lamine Yamal dribbled right at them. The ball gets to Rafinha in the middle, and Lewandowski pounced on the rebound. So this is all because Lamine Yamal, as I said, where he picked up the ball, he dribbled directly at them on that right wing and did not allow them to set up that low block. And I think when we're talking about De Jong, there are two different ideas, right? There's like the positive that he will kind of play his way into this, and he is not fully fit, which is totally fair, which I do think that it's possible that because he's not even 70% match fit, having been out for the better part of a half a year, that we might be kind of jumping the gun with how ready he is for these moments and how ready he is to get up to speed with Hansi Flick's system. The other part of that is that we kind of still know who De Jong is already. He is a runner, especially getting into the box quickly. That's where he can really unbalance low blocks. We saw it, 4 years ago when he had those, 6 or 8 goals in a season where he was really just doing a great job of creating numerical disadvantages for the opposition into the box. But when he's building up on the ball, we know he doesn't really release the ball quick enough to help Barcelona attack as vertically as they could. And so the moments in this game when Barcelona looked to really put Red Star Belgrade to the sword was when they just had Lamine Yamal in a little bit of space and allowed him to dribble forward. And the midfield was kind of just supporting it, where if they lost the ball, hey, the trio in the midfield, your job is just to win the ball back. But because De Jong isn't a natural ball winner either, he has to play alongside Costello in that double pivot. So these are kind of questions that I think maybe on a podcast coming up with some kind of tactical mind or something like that, I got to find somebody to have this conversation about De Jong in Hansi Flick's system. Because I think coming out of this game, that's really my biggest open-ended question. Headline 4 is up to their standards. It's funny because in that first half, Barcelona, I would not say they were playing poorly or bad at all. I think the reactionary comments were that they were not playing well. They were missing chances. It was 1-1 for so much of that first half. But I would just say that Barcelona did not play poorly or play bad. They just didn't play up to their normal Hansi Flick standards this season, which, as I keep reiterating, looking at the Champions League standings, where they lost his first game of the Champions League campaign, and yet they're still already back in the top 6. This Hansi Flick Barcelona has a high standard they have set for themselves, and they, I think, began the second half with that standard. They showed some energy, early shot from Pedri, then Pedri gets him behind, picks out Lewandowski at the back post. More good signs because it looks like Rafinha is a bit more central in the buildup, and I think that did kind of spread everything out. The 50th minute, the third chance to start the second half in just 5 minutes. Brilliant through ball, and I mean brilliant through ball by Lamine Yamal into Rafinha, but Lewandowski missed what I would almost classify as a sitter, so frustrating for Lewandowski there. As I said, not really finishing up to their standards, which just happened. When you create that many chances, you're going to miss some. That's what happens. The 3-1 comes, though, in the 53rd minute, so all that energy builds up to the third goal. And that means it's time to hit our tactics board. So, of course, on Big Up, we have some fun on the watch-alongs using things like this with the tactics board. So let's break down this 3-1 goal in the 53rd minute. This is a lot about Lamine Yamal, right? Lamine Yamal, for once in this game, he didn't really have to because it was really just a counterattack, and they're playing that high line. So Lamine Yamal isn't really defending in many deeper spots, but he actually did start defending way back here. Then he picks up the ball in a deeper spot. He and Koundé do a good job to get it out of trouble. And then here comes this run, just a curved run, dribbles right at the opposition, right through the middle. And if you're going to do that as Lamine Yamal, not giving the opposition any time to set their stuff up. So at this point, I think it was like right around here, right? It comes over this way, Pedri, and we keep it on moving over to Koundé. And then because he just continues his run, that being Lamine Yamal, just continues his run. You have De Jong making his run here at the back post. Right here. So he's also coming into the near post. And then Lewandowski is crashing. So once Koundé gets that ball in here, it's just so simple, right? And this is all about Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal starts and creates this whole play from deep in his own half, dribbles straight up to the center. So Red Star Belgrade couldn't set up that low block, and then just releases the ball at the right time. You spray it horizontally, and Koundé delivered the right ball. And now Lewandowski, for once, because in that first half he was dealing with 2 center backs the whole time, because Lamine Yamal also crashed into the box as De Jong is crashing and Rafinha is distracting the other fullback and the other midfielder over here in this 4-3-2-1 the Red Star Belgrade was playing in that low block. Now you have, again, Lewandowski's finally in a 1v1 at that back post. It's just excellent from the hard work of Lamine Yamal to quickly go straight at the opposition. So Lewandowski getting that goal. That's 5 goals now in 4 matches in the Champions League for Lewandowski, 16 on the season. Now here comes the 4-1. A few minutes later, Lamine Yamal and Koundé play the wall pass, and with a few touches in between, and smart touches by Lamine Yamal too. He sat on that ball on the touchline. He could have just immediately tried to play the wall pass, and then Koundé would have had to cut inside. It would have been more of an underlapping run, which it was an underlapping run because he was inside him. I get that. But yet, he winds up playing him towards the goal line and farther vertically upfield by waiting for that second midfielder to come to him. And because of that little pausa that Lamine Yamal learned in La Masia, now Koundé is in a 1v1, and that other center back has to make a decision. And the other center back makes his decision too late because Koundé cuts back to Rafinha, and then Rafinha, it's a tidy finish too, passes it in from like 25, 30 yards out. For Rafinha, that's also 5 goals in 4 matches in the Champions League. Rafinha also cannot stop scoring. Remember we said it was like not his best game, Rafinha, yet he has a goal and an assist. And this is why, when I say up to the standards, Lamine Yamal also has a very high standard that he has set. And this is why, again, he was the difference maker in this game. One-touch passing, his agility, and his ability to dribble in transition. Maybe we need to start calling it dribbility that Lamine Yamal has. Maybe that was just a Freudian slip. The dribbility, the ability to dribble for Lamine Yamal to unsettle these low blocks. He is really a difference maker in every phase of the game for Barcelona. And headline 5 is how to earn a goal 101. Here come the subs for Barcelona, 58th minute. Dani Olmo and Fermin Lopez on for Rafinha and Pedri. 63rd minute, this is the uh-oh moment. Kubarsi goes down on a set-piece opportunity. He gets kicked in the face, trying to clear it. For those who've been with me, you know that I broke my nose 3 times. I've had 3 concussions, so anything in this head area, not a big fan of. I always advocate. I'm glad they did. Immediately, the medical staff came out. I guess they checked for concussion. I don't know about the reports when I'm recording this, so hopefully it is not a concussion. Hopefully he didn't break a jaw or something, and hopefully nothing is wrong with the orbital bone. I'm hoping it is just a really nasty cut or something like that, or like a bone bruise or something. I expect to see him in a mask, and hopefully he can return sooner than later. The early concerns I said were concussion, so hopefully the updates that you've probably seen since this came out are saying that he's going to be fine and all that stuff. So 66th minute, they finally get that cleaned up because it was a lot of blood. But Kubarsi and De Jong out for Sergio Dominguez, and Gabi getting his first 25-minute run out of this season. I mean, since he's been back, obviously, in almost a year. The 5-1 then, the 76th minute. This is what I mean by earning a goal. All-out effort from Fermin Lopez to win the ball back. Minutes are a battle for these midfielders and attackers. So if you want to play, you got to earn them. And you could see that in Fermin Lopez. Gabi knows the same thing. If I want minutes, I got to earn them. So the same minute that he went all-out effort to win that ball back, he also gets his goal that he earned. Another good cutback from Koundé. Hats off to Koundé. And Fermin got it out of his feet quickly. Positive stuff to see. Good skill also to put enough power on it without the time to fully extend his leg and put the power that you can with a full extension, bringing your leg back and powering through it. So just from the top of the laces, good stuff from Fermin Lopez, which in his 50th game has already scored double-digit goals for Barcelona. You never expected it from Fermin Lopez. Good stuff from him. 78th minute, Lewandowski out for Pau Victor, who finally gets a run out here. I was glad to see him. Again, you don't want to lose anybody at this point in the season, so as much as we were calling for Ansu Fati, nice to see Pau Victor get a little opportunity. But the 5-2 then, maybe a little bit of the cherry on top, was taken away from Barcelona because the second goal scored for Red Star. A late one too, and I would say this along Golazo. Instead of going at Gerard Martin and Sergio Dominguez or whatever late, I don't really put this one on them. There wasn't enough pressure on the ball. And Koundé, honestly, there should have been pressure. He just fell for the fake. And it's a really good goal by Milson. And Koundé doesn't really make that mistake too often, falling for those kind of fakes. He usually has better positioning. Casado also, maybe in the second minute, he was over to that a little bit quicker. Didn't close down the space either. So, yeah, just a really good goal, too. Hats off to your opposition. With the 5 goals that we're talking about with Barca, though, they've now scored 5 goals in 5 of the 16 matches under Hansi Flick. Just impossible numbers. They've scored almost 25 goals more this season at the same time through 60 matches that they scored last year. That is ridiculous. Before the game ended, Fermin could have made it 6 or 7. He hit the crossbar on the other side after that second goal from Red Star. He almost had another one in the 90th minute to cap this off. Gavi was also still doing Gavi things. And again, I don't want to be unfair to De Jong because he was out for less of a time than Gavi. It was also less of a serious injury, but we're also not really sure if it really was. So maybe De Jong doesn't trust his body even less than Gavi seems to trust his at the moment. And Gavi just has to kind of earn his minutes back, not in terms of a meritocracy, but in terms of physically his body needs to kind of earn those minutes back. And for De Jong, maybe we're being too harsh on him. I'm not sure. You can let me know down in the comments or on social media if you're listening on the podcast apps. Again, or if you're a Patreon, let me know. And of course, we can talk about this on the podcast. Or if you're a Patreon or anybody who's in the watch along, come on to the watch along, request with a microphone, and we can have a conversation on the watch along. Have a little bit of fun there. I did predict 4-1 in this game, but I did discount a goal from Barcelona. I just keep forgetting that they love to put the hand up for the 5, and I also discredited a second goal from Red Star Belgrade, but these things happen. This weekend, Barcelona have Real Sociedad, and for a little bit of programming note, I will not have a YouTube live stream that I've been starting to do. I'm actually doing another broadcast, another football or soccer broadcast at 1 o'clock East Coast time. So I'm going to run home after that. And for 3 p.m. on Sunday, I will likely not be here when that match starts, but the stream will still happen, and you can kind of just be waiting, maybe watch something else, watch the match, and then I will be starting that stream a little bit late, but it will still be happening, and I will send out across all social media platforms when I'm jumping on and when I've begun that stream. So at minimum, by halftime, I will have that stream going, and we're also going to do probably, if I miss too much of the first half, I will not do a 5 headlines, but I'll do like an eat or rest or something like that. So that's the programming note for Sunday's match against Real Sociedad. In the meantime, Barcelona standings-wise, really great to see that after today's results, they are back where they belong, and that is in the top 6 and top 8. Remember, wind up just getting a pass to that next round. They don't have to go through that playoff to get into the next round. So if you finish top 8, that's where you want to be. And now with 3 straight wins and 9 points, Barcelona are kind of, again, right where they need to be. Liverpool flying high. They're the only team that have won all 4. And the teams in front of Barcelona have only had a draw instead of the loss that Barcelona and Dortmund and Aston Villa have suffered. But again, it's a great spot for Arsenal to be in at this point, especially after that slow start against Monaco. Now, with the win against Bayern Munich, they put themselves right back into the category they need to, which is like the winning category. All right, that'll be it for this 5 headlines. I kind of enjoyed this match more than I thought I would, believe it or not, with all the things we talked about. So it was interesting to break down Hansi Flick's team against a low block, which we haven't seen now for a few weeks. So for more tactics and stuff like that, again, this is the channel to be on. This is the podcast to listen to for Barcelona. So without further ado, again, thanks so much, as always, for listening to the show. Until next time, talk to you soon. Forza Barca.